extra significance for you, James, leading your country out of Bledisloe?
Yeah, I was asked that question early in the week, and it hit home. It's obviously big games always when you play the All Blacks, but leading the boys out into Bledisloe is, it's a proud moment. But I'm just concentrating on getting my part of the job done.
Some would say that given the Kiwis' form, this is one of Australia's better chances to win it back. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I've heard that commentary a fair bit, but history tells us that they're a pretty hard team to beat. So historically, they've had the wood on us for 20 years. So I don't. I think us as a playing group, we understand what's coming, and it's going to be a hard task to win the Bledisloe, and it starts tomorrow night here.
After Sydney, you were saying you wanted that loss to hurt. I'm just wondering, how have you seen the reaction and how pleased you've been to see them sort of bounce back?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago was a very disappointing night for us against South Africa, and we reviewed hard. We had honest chats. I said after the game we just need to be better, and we found ways that we could do that at training and in our review. So it definitely hurt. But one thing in rugby is you got to dust the shoulders off, because around the corner is the All Blacks, and if you're still thinking about South Africa come tomorrow, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So for us, we got to move forward. We got to look forward, and we got to make sure we perform tomorrow.
And Bernard being back in the starting side, so that's another experienced head. What has he brought to this group?
Yeah, it's good having little Piggy around. His little fat fingers. So another experienced player for us. It's been the tail of our season so far. We've gone through quite a few players. So it's kind of that next man in sort of attitude. Nardi's come in really well. He's really been a big voice in our group this week, and I'm excited to see him don the jersey again.
James, from a leadership perspective, you'll have guys in this team who won't even have memories of the Wallabies holding the Bledisloe. How do you go about instilling belief in the side when it has been so long?
Yeah, we got a couple of boys born the year we last won it, so it's a long time, and I think it works in our favour as well, where these young players coming in haven't gone through the last 15, 20 years or 10 years of playing the All Blacks. They've had some great teams over the last decade, and this team's just as strong, I reckon. But for our players, they're just excited to get out there. Most of them haven't really played the All Blacks consistently, and it sets up a really good match tomorrow, because we're coming here to perform, and I'm sure the All Blacks are as well.
Do you have any memories of 02 and before that, when the Wallabies had the Bled?
Yeah, I do. They were some of my fondest memories, and it's probably a main reason why I wanted to be a Wallaby, was to play for the Wallabies, because I grew up watching the likes of the late 90s, early 2000s, being a really successful era for us as a country in rugby. So at the end of the day, we want to inspire rugby players around the country, and we've got a job to do. We know that.
Why do you think it's taken so long? Why the gap?
Well, that's a really good question. It's a hard question. You can look at it both angles. We probably haven't been up to standard, and the All Blacks have been above standard. Some of the teams I played against, in New Zealand, they've been pretty strong. You look back at that 2015 team; it's world class. So, they're always tough games. We managed to win. In my career, we've managed to win a few dead rubbers. The third game. So, for us, it's just with 2 games this year, we've got to make sure that every game counts and that we start well.
Do you feel it should be 3 games every year? Do you think 2 is selling it short in a way?
The more the better for us players. It's always a great occasion playing the Kiwis. It's always a tough game. You always got to challenge yourself, and that's why you play the game, is to play in the big games. So the more games, the better. I remember in 2010 we played them 4 times, so it was good fun.
In 2 years ago when you played, it was your 100th test. You got a bottle of red wine, I think it was, afterwards. Did you drink that, or are you saving it for a Bledisloe win? Or?
No, it's still unopened. It's sitting at home, actually. So that was a good occasion that night, and we managed to get the win there. So that was the more important thing. So I'll crack it one day, mate.
The All Blacks got a new set of front rowers, a lot of new faces there, but what have you made of them at Super Rugby level coming up against them? How highly do you rate some of those new faces?
Yeah, I rate them, especially the young Fletcher Newell on the bench. He's a strong tight end. So I played against him at when I was at the Brumbies against the Crusaders. He's got a bit of Owen Franks about him. So one thing you know about the Kiwis is they're always going to be strong. They've got a lot of depth in their team and in their sport. So I guess regardless of who's wearing the jersey, it's going to be a tough outing.
It's an approach going from the Australian sides in Super Rugby this year, I suppose, compared to the 2021 Trans-Tasman element. How do you best go about translating that improved form into the Wallabies against the All Blacks?
Yeah, I was actually really proud of the way the Aussie teams performed this year. Looking back 2 years ago, it was pretty skinny there. So, it's the first time I was cheering on the Tars in my career. So, I guess that transfer into the international stage is what we're after, and I think that will build over the years. We just got to keep improving year in, year out, because Super Rugby is a tough competition. It's a sprint, and you're playing against some of the best teams in the club teams in the world. So for us as a country, we just need to develop as many players as we can at that level, and then start performing.
Do you think the style of game will change at all with Bernard running the cutter, and also 8 changes to the starting 15? How hard is it to, I guess, change, keep the same game plan going?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, it's kind of been our story of the season. I think that first South African team that second one was the first time we strung the same 15 together, and then we've been forced into some more changes this week. So it's definitely something we're not estranged to, but we're still going to run a game plan that we think will challenge the All Blacks, and regardless of who plays in those positions, we like to back ourselves. Whoever's in that jersey can do that role at that time. So I think the biggest thing, having Nardi back in, is just that experience and that composure at the big moments, and he's fit in really well.
What do you absolutely have to get right tomorrow to take this to Eden Park with the series alive?
I think the start of the game and then just the basics, so your set piece, your kicking game, and then just working on your discipline. We're probably the worst team in terms of discipline at the moment. We seem to get penalised quite a fair bit, which is something we've spoken about each week, but we haven't had a response from the players. So hopefully this week we just nail our basics. We play fundamental rugby, we play at the right end of the field, and we get our set piece going, mate. And we're under no illusions. We're going to have to be at our best to win, and that's our focus.
I think you're the most penalised player by some margin. So I guess that's something that, it's difficult in scrums and whichever way the penalty goes, but is it something as the captain that you, need to make a
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? We as I said, we spoke about it a fair bit, and we've had honest reviews over that, and one thing is, being a captain, I've got to lead by example there, and pull my head in.
James, are you the kind of guys who's going to be a rev-up merchant before the game tomorrow, or a bit more the calm, collected type before kick-off?
Oh, a bit of both. It's more, I think, just getting the best out of the players around me is the key, and reading that room at the time. I think having composure around that leadership role is really important, and speaking with clear and precise messages is key. But if there's a stage there where I think the boys need a rev, I'll give it. And we've got plenty of blokes in the team that can deliver different sort of messages throughout the team. So it's not something that I have to do on my own.
Have you been surprised by how much the All Blacks have struggled this
Yeah,
year?
they're a good team. They're a big rugby nation. There's a lot of pressure on their outcome. They're a team that has a whole country behind them who wants to see them win, and I understand that. I think in terms of being surprised, I think in terms of world rugby, there's been a lot of closing of the gap between Southern and Northern Hemisphere, and I'd probably say the top 6 to 8 teams are pretty close. Given on any sort of day, anyone could probably win the game, and I think that's exciting for rugby. The closer these games are, the better they are, and going into the World Cup next year, that's the interesting thing, and it's the really exciting thing.
Who's your goal kicker?
Pardon?
Who's going to be your goal kicker?
Well, it won't be me. No, I think Foley will kick.
Last couple, thanks guys.
So you had some classic Wallabies in. I think those guys were 2002 successful Bledisloe Cup team a couple of days ago. Just the motivation you get out of having those guys in and tell us stories and experiences.
Yeah, it was obviously really good to have some classic Wallabies join the group. They came in for a free feed and they really enjoyed themselves. So I think just sitting down there and just openly talking with them is something that all the current players really enjoyed. It was really casual, nothing formal. It was just about just that connection and getting them in, because over the last 3 years, with COVID and all that sort of stuff going on, it's been really hard to bring people into the inner sanctum and travel around, etc. So I guess to have that little bit of connection there with the old firm would be good.
Is the group aware of sort of the broader significance of what would happen if the Wallabies win the Bledisloe? Like, I mean, in terms of just unlocking bit part rugby fans, these are sometimes the only 2 games that some fans will tune into.
Yeah. Look, we understand how big these games are for the rugby community. Definitely, I said it earlier. It's been 20 years. I've never won it, and it's one thing talking about winning it. It's another thing doing it. So I'm not really interested in going down the path of, we're going to go out there and win. We got to make sure we do it on the field instead of here in front of the media.